had two very important anecdotes. The first one, even though it poses a question, invites no answer. But the second anecdote, which also poses a question, does invite an answer. All of us probably know that Rabbi Israel was the founder of the Hasidic branch of Judaism, but he's more commonly known as the Baal Shem Tov. Now, every Sabbath, the Baal Shem Tov and his Tzaddikim, as they were called, gathered to say the prayers that welcome in this holy day for the Jewish people. Now, after the prayers were over, all of them would adjourn to another room where there was laid out a table of wonderful sweets and snaps were served. But very often, those prayers went on for many hours. And very often, after the Tzaddikim had finished their prayers, the Baal Shem Tov would still be under his prayer shawl, praying and rocking. But of course, as a courtesy, the Tzaddikim would remain in place until the Baal Shem Tov had finished his praying, and then they would adjourn. But of course, sitting there, the Tzaddikim could smell the beautiful aroma of the cakes and the schnapps that awaited them, and their stomachs would growl. So one day, one of the Tzaddikim said to the others, "You know, the rabbi would never notice if we got up and went and had our repast because he's so absorbed in his prayers." But others disagreed, or no, that would be impolite and that would not be proper. But the very next Sabbath day, the leader of the Tzaddikim whispered so that hardly anyone could hear, because they'd finished their prayer and there was their rabbi under his prayer shawl, rocking and praying, totally absorbed. And the leading Tzaddikim whispered, "Come, let's go, and he won't even notice that we've gone, and we'll be back." But as soon as they all stood up to leave, immediately the Baal Shem Tov took off his prayer shawl and said, "What's happening? Where are you going?" The Tzaddikim, we were just, we didn't think you'd notice." "Oh," said the Baal Shem Tov, "you know, when we pray, a ladder is created between earth and heaven. And when I pray, I ascend the rungs of that ladder. It is you who hold the ladder, and when you got up, I fell." What is the sublime, the arcane law behind this anecdote? An extraordinarily important law that we all need to become aware of in the echelons, the dimensions of creation. The second anecdote was told on Tuesday and invites an answer because it covers several levels. Rafiq was a would-be Sufi. And because of following the Sufi way for many, many years, and participating in the practices and disciplines that it required, he had gained some powers. But Rafiq was addicted. He was addicted to doing good. Those powers that he'd acquired allowed him to be brave and fearless. And he did not falter when he was faced with someone in danger or in need. He would use these powers to come to their aid. But Rafiq also had another addiction. He was addicted to the praise, the recognition that came from these good deeds. There was one regret that he had in his life, and that was that his peregrinating ways, his wandering ways, did not allow him to stay in one place so that he could gather around him all of those people who he assisted, who could give him the adulation and the uplifting praise that he needed. Very often, his wandering ways took him across the desert sands. And there was an occasion when Rafiq was sitting in an oasis, nodding off, when he heard the most dreadful squeals of something in danger. And when he looked up, there was a brown bear with its head locked in the jaws of a desert dragon, as they were called. Now, of course, immediately Rafiq got up and went to the aid of the bear. Pulling its legs, he fixed his eyes on the dragon, using his powers of hypnosis. He was able to pull the bear out of the dragon's mouth, and the dragon slunk away. Now, this bear recognized that it had been Rafiq who saved him from death. So the bear became Rafiq's boon companion. Every time he needed something to eat or drink, the bear would go and get it for him. The bear would sit beside him when he was sleeping to protect him. The bear went everywhere with him, close as it could be. And of course Rafiq loved this. He thought this was so wonderful, that this creature recognized him and what he'd done for it. But one day, when Rafiq was sleeping with the bear sitting beside him, protecting him, a wise man came along and quickly woke up Rafiq and said, "You've got a bear beside you. Beware, be careful." "Ah, smugly," said Rafiq, "this is my friend, my protector." The wise man said, "Beware. Be very careful when you have those who adulate you, who are of lesser being." "Ha!" said Rafiq, and took great pains in telling the wise man the whole story, with some embellishment. This is what he liked to do, about how he'd saved the bear, and how the bear now was repaying him by taking care of him. The wise man again admonished Rafiq and said to be very careful. be very, very careful. One should only seek the companionship of like. Do not seek the companionship of those who adulate. There is danger here. Oh, you're only jealous because you don't have anyone to adulate you, said Rafiq. Wise man said, so be it. You have not the power to listen. Your pride and your need blinds you. I therefore leave you to your fate. And the wise man left. Not long after, Rafiq found himself at an oasis. There was an abundance of fruit and water there, but of course, as is with fruit and water, there are a lot of insects and flies and bugs flying around. So the bear, as was its usual wont, was waving the creatures off its master, and very contentedly Rafiq lay down at its feet and went off into a blissful sleep. Well, the bear became so agitated and angry at these flies that were bothering his master, landing on his master's face, and he was waving them away. So he picked up a big stone and crashed it down, smashing Rafiq's skull and spreading his brains and blood all over the sand. What is the deep meaning of the story for you? Be careful, because your answer will indicate exactly where you are. So ponder well before you respond. Come down with it.
You'll get yourself squashed out of you one way or another.
Well, I think it's like if you put yourself on a pedestal, if you have that thing that you are, you know, more advanced or better or know more in that sense, then you will fall and have a terrible death.
As we know, those sayings, pride comes before a fall, and all of those things. But there's something deeper here.
It seems to me that both both stories you told have something to do with separation and unity. Like
okay.
the first one was indicating that that the I forgot the name, you know, the imam or the teacher was actually there was actually no real separation between him and the others praying, holding the ladder or There, there was actually like a symbiosis which was working. Because he was actually establishing the connection between them and the divine. Whereas in the second story, I think that connection was actually jeopardized by the ego of this person. I don't know.
Yes. Good connection. They are related. Otherwise they wouldn't be taught together. It's an energy thing, isn't it?